तो करवा करे तो जाए
ये फार्म करे रजिस्ट्रेशन की जरूरत
असने जो कस जरूरत सो ये फॉर्मेलिटी है तो जो लिंक करें जो तो करो लिंक आसमान
ओके
सर लिंक छो थे
लिंक किस पर नहीं
अच्छा
कि आईडी वाईडी को क्रिएट
सो यस आईडी को ना क्रिएट
तो सर आईडी दी में
अब करो तो जाए आईडी को क्रिएट नजर Zoom meeting. So you directly 848. Hello? ना तो नहीं यो अच्छा मैं तो बुक कर दो बस करो मैं तो ये बह करो तो चेंज ठहरो 1 मिनट पकान नवीद सब नवीद अंजुम इस फ्रेंड छो अच्छा वीडियो ऑन अच्छा ओके
So for test take मेरी आवाज आ रही है क्या?
हाँ
हाँ हेलो
हाँ डॉक्टर साहब आपकी आवाज आ रही है।
सर ठीक आ रहा है कि इज इट ये ग्लिशियस तो नहीं है?
बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल आवाज आ रही है सर आपकी।
Voice is okay.
चलो थैंक यू
Okay.
we're expecting to receive our speakers soon, so let me call them. I think we should start at 2:30 immediately.
Okay.
Okay sir, okay sir. We have 7 people in the waiting hall actually.
We can also at the same time admit the other participants. Okay. बस आओ आओ आओ
हाँ यो सीट को मत अनम्यूट
मैं वनता तो है उसको करूंगा अनम्यूट चलो ओके तो मराजी सब में आए
नो नो तरबूज एमएस के खाता ना आवा
तेरे बकर कॉल जस्ट अ मिनट
COVID-19 unlock
Umar sahab, can you unmute audios? Islago will start chatting each other. We should go chalan.
Unmute.
See, go unmute. Am I
Hello?
audible? Am I audible, sir?
You are audible. You are okay.
Okay.
I am
so,
able to hear you.
Assalamu alaikum. So we're expecting our speakers to come. We're waiting for them. We hope that they will soon come.
He has now joined. Okay.
Yes, sir. So we welcome Professor. Sir, are we audible to you, sir?
1 minute. Nazar.
Sir, we are also being joined by Dr. Nazar Ahmed Mir sahab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Am I audible to you, sir? Kindly unmute, sir. So should we start? Dr. Ahmed sahab, are we audible to you, sir? Okay.
This image Hello. Chun video chuna yevne isha ati issue kem bisu beyte karan. No, issue kasan paan hai.
That's what happened.
Magar issue paan hai. Okay.
Chalo, thank.
Well, without Nazar.
Okay. So are we be joined by everybody?
Nazar, your video is not actually displaying here.
If my video is not displaying, it doesn't matter. I think if my audio is audible, that will work.
You are audible to us.
You are audible, but the problem is your video is not.
So it could be because of internet problem. It is consuming a lot of band. I believe that BSNL broadband is not working to that extent. It's quite possible that the video may be on and off, but if our audio is would you please unmute the audio of Dr. Nazar Ahmed Mir sahab?
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, हमारी आवाज आप तक पहुंच रही है?
Yes, you are audible. I was waiting that you allow me to unmute my mic.
Oh, sorry. So, thank you, and sorry for this technical error. And is Professor Hamid Nasim Rafiabadi sir ने join किया है?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Kindly unmute your audio, sir. Please, sir, kindly. What is sir?
Yes.
Tell the host to unmute the audio of Professor Hamid Nasim Rafiabadi, sir.
Yeah, we are doing that. Umar, unmute.
Okay.
It's not getting unmuted. Have you? But why it's not getting unmuted?
Sir, kindly sir को आप बोलिए कि वो unmute करे.
Yeah, he has to himself do it, I think.
उनका शायद आ गया कि I think it has unmuted. सर का unmute हो गया?
Yes.
सर मराजी साहब आपको हमारी आवाज आ रही है? Okay, till then, we fixed Professor Hamid Nasim Rafiabadi's. I think we should start the program. Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We all know that we are today having this. I don't think there is a single person who is not, who is not having an impact because of the COVID-19 virus. As earlier in a program schedule, we have sent this message that there have been numerous suicides that have taken place, and relationships have broken totally. And in some context, we see that people are actually so much broken in relationships, and there are also high rates of divorce rates taking place. But since we also know psychiatry, mental health, and emotional well-being was the part of Human Resource Development Ministry of Higher Education that they recently took the initiative for the well-being and mental health. Issue was taken seriously by the Higher Education Ministry that they started a program, what was known as Manodarpan. In Manodarpan, they took this initiative for conducting various webinars and getting connected to the students, and students extremely important. We were successful in connecting to most of the students, but at some times we failed because of the offline, and we had to switch the internet glitches that were taking place during the webinars. We didn't have the technical support to go for this radical shift from offline to the online mode, but still we tried our best. Career counseling cell, government degree college, Boys Anantnag, under my convenership and under the membership of Professor Khurshid and Dr. Umar Zargar, we tried our level best to reach and connect to the students. Why was connection important? But I just want to take a minute to it that a few days before, there is a student of first semester. He was actually the student of psychology. In Northern Kashmir, he had to attend the practical exams tomorrow. And when the teacher asked for the attendance of the student, and he heard, unfortunately, that the student had passed away. And the reason for the death was that the student had committed suicide, unfortunately. The teacher was so shocked that what could have been possible reason for the suicide of that student. And he was shocked in many ways that couldn't make him sleep, that I wish that I could have talked to that student yesterday. I wish I could have understood his problem, what could have been his problem. That's why student connection in that in these times was very important for us to connect with the students, to understand their problems, to understand and make realize what are their mental and health. Besides the career opportunities which we're discussing throughout the year, but mental health and well-being was very important. So in this connection, we requested everybody to take part. Said that the technical and clinical part of this counseling would be done by the psychology, because psychology is the clinical part of it. But then academically speaking, religion and psychiatry were very they were closely knit together up to 19th century. It was the 19th century when Sigmund Freud like people took place, came in the fore, and they actually said that religion is neurosis, and it was separated. Religion and psychiatry was separated from there on. But till 19th century, all the mental health issues were actually by the religion. They were resolved by the religion. But after 19th century, certain academic initiatives were taken place, and which actually separated religion from the psychiatry, and they thought that the clinical depression can be treated clinically only. But today, since I being the student of religion and I'm a Muslim, alhamdulillah, that I totally believe that the faith and the religion has so many traits in it which can resolve so many mental issues and health issues. So that's why that we have actually initiated this webinar so that we can connect it to our students. So without wasting much time, we are very fortunate that we have three of our speakers with us. One is the very prominent Professor Hamid Nasim Rafiabadi Sahab, who is the director and head of the Department of Religious Studies, Central University of Kashmir. We're all also been being pleasure to have Dr. Nazir Ahmed Zargar Saab. He's also assistant professor religious studies from the Central University of Kashmir. We're also supported by Professor Manzoor Ahmad Bhatt Saab, head Department of Islamic Studies, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, he may not be able to speak on the issue, but I also with us. I first of all, directly without wasting any time, I request Professor Hamid Naseem Rafiabadi Sahab, before I request him to come and share his thoughts on religion and psychiatry and mental issues and health well-being, I request Professor Khurshid Ahmed Mir Sahab to formally deliver a welcome address. Khurshid Sahab.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Nazar. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
yeah. So I, on behalf of the principal GDC Boys Anantnag, Professor Mushtaq Ali Mir, actually going to deliver the welcome address. Though we have already recorded that welcome address, but due to some technical reasons, we are not able to share that welcome address here. So on behalf of the worthy principal of this college, I welcome all those who are actually going to speak in this very particular webinar, and also I'm going to welcome all those participants who will stay us for a while to understand the religious perspective on stress management and during COVID times. So when we talk about the present circumstances, we see that this the COVID or this pandemic has posed a serious challenge to every institution of the society, be it even religion, family, economy, culture, or different institutions of the society, and every institution is facing various challenges, whether we are faculty members, our students, business community, laboring class, all the people are actually going through tough times because of this crisis. Now we have various perspectives which are trying to explain this problem. I mean, how this problem could be first dealt with, and the science is in the race so that some medicine or some vaccine could be discovered so that this problem would go once for all. But at the same time, we are trying to look at various angles to this problem. But what actually so far I personally found missing in different webinars which we have conducted and which we are actually participating is that we have not seen religion as a variable in explaining this pandemic, because sometimes there have been a lot of blame game between religion and science. We are not going to debate into that, because it's those who are actually good scholars, good teachers, they don't put science and religion into contrast with each other, rather than they believe they are complementary to each other. So I personally believe that religion is an important variable who can explain us about this COVID-19, and particularly the stress management. Now see the stress which most of our students, the faculty members, and all other people are different dimensions of society, institutions of society are facing. Now how religion would going to help them is that actually religion has as an institution, it is a moralizing force to tell us that we have more good things by living, rather than taking some extreme steps when it comes to facing such challenges. And religion tells us that we have to have faith, we need to have belief in some faith, and that faith keeps us hoping for good things, bring us optimism in us. That's what religion can do in these tough times. I'm not authority to speak on it, I'm from the political science department, but since in international relations, I'm also trying to look at this variable of religion, particularly Islam, how Islam explains the interstate relations. That's why I just try to dare in front of these highly qualified faculty members who are going to make us very what we call it knowledgeable in terms of what they are going to share with us, inshallah, in a very short span of time. So without taking too much time, I would welcome first of all, it is Professor Hamidullah Marazi, Head Department of Religious Studies, Central University of Kashmir, and then we have honor to have Dr. Nazir Ahmed Zargar, Assistant Professor, Department of Religious Studies, Central University of Kashmir. So another guest who was supposed to speak here, whether he would speak or not, Professor Manzoor Ahmed Bhatt, Head Department of Islamic Studies, University of Kashmir, and I, Khurshid Ahmed Mir. With me, we have Dr. Umar from the Department of Zoology, and I'm highly thankful to Dr. Nazar for organizing
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Professor Khurshid Ahmed Mir Saab. Thank you for your wise words. As at the trend for the webinar, before we do that, we were actually discussing the religion and psychiatry as separate branches. As we said that psychiatric part and the mental health and emotional well-being is only the domain of psychology, as has been acclaimed by the various academicians before. But religion as a variable, as you said very well, that and religion as a variable in emotional well-being is very important. And religious studies has been trying to do that. There is this contrast that has been said in academics as well. So I think that let the best of the brains discuss on the issue. How religion, and primarily obviously they are from also from the Islamic studies background, we'd like to hear from them also the Islamic perspective, because most of us are Muslims. So as a religion and as a variable, and as Islam as a variable in building us the mental health and emotional well-being. So directly inviting Professor Hamid Nasim Rafiabadi, who has also been my who is also my supervisor. ये किसी बच्चे से कहा जाता है कि दुनिया का सबसे इंटेलिजेंट आदमी कौन है, वो कहेंगे कि उनके उस्ताद है। तो मैं यही कहूँगा कि मेरे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा इंटेलिजेंट है। तो डायरेक्टली प्रोफेसर हमीद नसीम रफियाबादी साहब, kindly please share us your insights. Thank you, sir.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir. I hope that I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, I just am very thankful to your Professor Sahab, Ali Sahab, and Mr. Nazar Ul Islam, and other colleagues of the Nazar Sahab, and the college itself, that they have invited me for this talk, which is really a very interesting subject for me, and a little bit I am interested in psychology and psychiatry as well. And I had a very good program there in Indonesia 2 years back about human nature and philosophy and religion. So first of all, it is my pleasure that Dr. Nazar Ul Islam Wani is doing a very good work there in his college. And I keep on track with whatever is happening there, and what my students are doing, how they are contributing to the academic life of their colleges and their institutions. And that is gratifying for us, because I have been always trying to give my best to my students, especially the research scholars, because research scholars are our ambassadors when they leave the university or the college or institution. Now, so far as today's topic is concerned, there are several aspects of this. First of all, I would like to tell you something about mental health. And then I will talk a little bit about Islam and then human nature, and how religion can cater the needs of psychological nature. And I am happy that your friend has just said that much has been not talked about religion. I was just in a seminar from the webinar from Aligarh Muslim University, and an interesting debate was going on. What can be the role of religion in these pandemic times? So there were scholars from other religions as well, apart from Islam. And there was a Christian brother, he was talking about Job. So how he was afflicted by this tragedy and by the misery and the disease. And then he used to say, Rabini Masan Yazru Antarun Ramin. And then how he was then cured by Allah from that misery. And that Christian friend was saying an interesting thing. He was saying that whatever misfortune comes to a believer, that is the glorification of God. Because God wants to make us to realize that we are not gods. We are human beings, we have weaknesses, we have shortcomings, and we should not play God. And sometimes man tends to play God, as has been said in the Quran, that have you seen, O Prophet, a man who has made his own desire as his God? And you know how many people are there who are claiming to be God nowadays? It may be Trump, and maybe other superpowers, so-called superpowers. And they are trying to play with the destinies of the nations and communities, how they are just playing with the lives of the thousands and millions of innocents in the world, and how the world is being devastated by them, and how they are making a lot of aggrandizements and how they have, plundered the countries, how they have killed the innocents, millions of millions. So these all points just sometimes are very important when we see such type of pandemic, because these are the misfortunes befalling us or because of our own actions. Bima kasabat aydiyun nas, whatever the misfortune comes to our way is because of our actions. And during these pandemic times, I was introspecting. I had a good time to think about many issues, which I could never think before. I was thinking about myself. I was thinking about people around. I was thinking about the religious feelings and exploitation of religion, exploitation of philosophy, exploitation of education, and the national feelings and nationalist feelings and what not. And then I realized the weaknesses of human beings, and then I found that there is need of some chastisement from nature, from God, from Allah. And this has been there, that from the religious point of view, we are being chastised by Allah. And because when we forget Him, then we forget ourselves, when we forget God. And finally, then we are just face to face with different type of misfortunes. And we have been told in the hadith that if a thorn is just, is afflicting a person, a mu'min believer, that also becomes the compensation for his sins. So whatever comes in our way, that is because of Allah, and there is a design, there is wisdom. And if even we think on this, there we understand why this misfortune has come. And science fails many times us to tell us what is the real cause or behind these misfortunes. So now talking about mental illnesses. So why these mental illnesses take place? As Nazar has rightly said that it was pride, who has talked about libido, id, and then Oedipus complex, and then he has tried to explain everything on the basis of human desire, that whatever comes to our way, it is because of our unfulfilled desires. And then there are many religions which say that we have been sent to this world because of our previous actions. We had done something wrong in our life before this life. So we are coming here for the compensation, repentance. And then there are religions, we say that basically this world is a suffering place. There is dukha because there is trishna, and there is way to get rid of that dukha and the trishna as well. But when we see these all points from Islamic point of view, these all things are not right. Basically, misfortunes are part of life, and disease is part of health. And in this world, we find more good than evil. Disease comes sometimes, but health remains almost there with the people. And they realize only the value of health when there is some disease, when there is some ailment. Otherwise, world is full of goodnesses, good things. There have been philosophers who became apostates, who became atheists, who turned infidels because they found there is evil in the world. And some of them turned even insane, like Nietzsche, beyond good and evil. But the reality is that there has been more good than evil in the universe. And sometimes there are misfortunes, there are pandemics, there are epidemics. So we this time are facing this pandemic, and maybe it is man-made. There is some role of men and the people of the world. There have been theories like that, although it's very difficult to prove it. And some people blame one nation, others blame different nations for this pandemic. They have created these, in the laboratory, but no, it is not proven. But maybe there is some human interference also in this whole process. But whatever we know, we are face to face, as Buddha was asked, that what is suffering and what is good and what is bad. He said, a man is afflicted with a piercing arrow. We should take it out first, then we should discuss where from it has come. So we are now suffering from the pandemic. This is the reality. People are dying. Every day people are dying. Yesterday I was listening a video from Maharashtra, a father was being asked by his daughter that, what is your condition? He said, I am not in good condition. So are you getting facilities? He said, I am not getting anything, even not water. And after 5-10 minutes, she was no more. So we feel people, we find people are suffering. They are just dying. And in our own place, we find every day, average 10 people die. And more than millions of the people are suffering from this disease, and a lot of problems have been created by this. So now, because of this lockdown and disease and the consequences of the disease, people are becoming frustrated. And this frustration is natural, because this hedonic culture of the West had made us to just go for amusements, allurements of life, to enjoy life to the fullest, because this world was governed by the philosophies of hedonism, where we believe that maximum pleasure of an individual is the maximum, and we should go for that. And or utilitarianism, that the maximum pleasure of the maximum number is the good. And this philosophy was governing us. And when we were just caught up by in our own homes and we were locked down, so we became frustrated because we had no ideology, we had no belief system. We don't believe in life after. This worldly civilization, this ungodly civilization does not believe in life after. And we as Muslims have been also impacted by this ideology, consciously or unconsciously. And there is impact of that. And we are more concerned with the mundane concerns, not the life after concerns. And our life has become dunya oriented, not deen oriented, not akhira oriented. And for that reason, whenever any such thing happens, we become frustrated. We think that we have lost everything and we want to get rid of that. And that is because of the lack of our belief. Had we believed that whatever comes to our way, it is because of our actions first, or it is for our own betterment, chastisement from God, because Prophet has said, "Inna Allah iza ahaba qawman ibtala." Whenever Allah loves a nation, He puts them into trial and tribulation. Prophets have been put to the trials and tribulations, and the saints and the seers and the saviors, they have faced the worst in this world. And philosophers and scientists, they have suffered. And when they suffered, then they just brought out the best within them. And this suffering also is needed sometimes so that we realize the purpose of our life. We might have transgressed. And because of the lack of faith, we are just becoming frustrated, and our youngsters are more prone to those frustrations. And then they are going for suicide and other such type of activities. And now it has increased this rate. Even in our own state, this is a very common tendency. And we should know that prophets were suffering more than we, and they were the beloved of Allah, and the walis of Allah, they were suffering. So because they were believing this, and as Mansur Halaj would say, as the kings and the rulers are wanting to expand their territories, so we are waiting for the agonies and for the trials and tribulations from God. So they are waiting those things, because this is known as balai dost, as Mullah Rumi would say. This is the trial and tribulation coming from God, so we love whatever comes from God. And kullu min indillah, everything comes from Allah. So this belief makes you strong. And even in the worst type of circumstances, you are steadfast. You are strong enough to face those realities. And then you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So you are being tested by some decrease in your lives, in your health, in your property, in your fruits and everything. But you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So you make a lot of patience, you are sabr. And then whenever any such misfortune comes to you, you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that we are from Allah and rarely we have to go back to Allah. So this misfortune also comes from Allah. So this is the reason. So religion can become a great source for us to come out from all these crises. And as has been said in the Quran, Allah bi zikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah is the solace of hearts. You go for prayer, offer more and more prayer. Go for obligatory prayers and also go for voluntary prayers. And see, make the zikr of Allah your way of life. You will forget everything else than Allah. And as was mentioned by once, Bais Bistami was asked by someone, how your days and nights are passed. He said that in the remembrance of Allah, I have forgotten when the day comes and when the day ends. So when you are lost in the commemoration of the name of Allah, you are remembering Allah at each and every moment because you depend for your every breath on Allah. You should know this. Whatever comes, it is from Allah, and He gives us life as long as He wants. He takes our souls out during night and then returns at evening, at morning. So we should believe in this. In the same way, these all things happen to us. And if we make our relations very, very strong with God, with Allah, and we remember Him, you will find that He is with you. So He has never left you. He is with you. And He is very close to you. He is closer to you than the jugular vein. And you will find Him whenever you supplicate. Whenever my servants ask you, O Prophet, about me, tell them that I am very close to you. And whosoever supplicates me, I respond to their supplications. Allah makes our supplications accepted, and He responds to our supplications. But because of this lack of faith, our new generation has lost their faith, and they are getting perturbed with a small, affliction or misfortune in this life or misery. So first of all, we can just tackle this problem, mental problem, and pride will not help you here. Let me tell you, because only those people used to go to Freud who were already, suffering from either perversion or introvert personality, syndrome, and no good person was going to him. So then he generalized that every person is like that. And my teacher, Professor, Taqi Amini used to say, had Freud gone a little ahead, and he would have found God there in the hearts of the people residing. But he reached on to the rust. That the hearts of the people were rusted because of their actions. Whenever we perform bad actions, our hearts become rusted. Otherwise, there is Lord in our heart. And His zikr makes our hearts solaced and satisfied, and we always become tranquil. And the way for that is the relationship of man with God. So the medicines will not help you in that way. Even the intoxicants will not help you. So a person who is taking wine, he should have taken wine only once if wine had given him satisfaction. And a person who is, who has become addicted to these drugs, he should have taken drugs one time and he should have become satisfied. But the more drugs he just consumes, the more drugs he wants, the more wine a person wants who is a drunkard. So it means that these things are not going to solve our problem. Even their medicines are not going to help us always. So we need medication. And religion has told us, Tadawu ibadullah, O servants of Allah, go for medication. Because Allah has not created any disease for which He has not created the medicine or the treatment. But this is not the permanent solution of the problems which are mental problems, which are the stress, which is I should say, depression. The permanent solution to this problem is relationship with God and having the more concentration for the life after and thinking about that life, which is permanent life. And you see the people who were poor, but they were very much satisfied with whatever they were having. And we have found those nations. But because of the materialism of the West, which has come from the West, in wake of the mundane philosophies, being a student of philosophy, and knowing what is Marxism, what is atheism, what is materialism, what is humanism, what is hedonism, I know this is the impact of these all ungodly philosophies, which are anti-God philosophies, which have made man so much depressed. And then if you go to existentialism, And the existentialists to say that man has been made object in the objects of the universe. So everything has been explained in a mechanical way, even our conscience and our soul, our mind, our, I should say, other such type of intuitions, those all have been explained away in materialistic terms, in mechanical terms, in neurological terms. And even they have denied even the brain. Previously, it used to be the brain hemorrhage. Now it is nervous breakdown. And they have dispensed with soul. They have dispensed with brain. They have dispensed with the mind. And now they consider us also as God's man. We are also object in the objects of the universe, and we are being treated mechanically. And man has lost the soul. So as Sartre's book, Iron in the Soul, so it seems that there is some iron in our soul, and as Descartes would say that ghost in a machine, that our mind is just like a ghost in our machine, our body. So body is machine, mechanical. And this trend has continued, and the education which we are being given nowadays, so that is based on this philosophy, which is this worldly, mundane, which has nothing of spirituality, which has nothing of, I should say, religion or ethical values there, or I should say spiritual values. And the reason is that there is lot of mental depression, and there are a lot of problems. And we have psychopaths, and we have neuropaths, and we have psychiatric patients everywhere, and there's a lot of depression, and people are going for societal activities, and our youngsters have been left with only solution to all problems that is society. And this is the defeatist philosophy and defeatist mentality which has been created by modern world, where matter is considered to be everything, and material resources and the pleasures of this world and the hedonistic activities are considered to be the ultimate destiny and goal of man. And this is the basic reason for the mental depression. And there is solution in religion, there is solution in spirituality, there is solution in Islam, and it has worked always, it will work today. And as Ghazali has said that the masters, Sufi masters, people used to go to them and they would ask questions to them, and they were working as counselors. And we can just start that relation again. And then many problems we are facing can be just solved by these consultations with the godly men, with the people who are really pious, who are spiritually elevated. And when we are getting connected with religion, we are connected with God, we are connected with life hereafter, we are connected with spiritual world. We believe that angels are coming to us. As Quran says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. The people who have said that Allah is our Lord, our Rabb, and then they become steadfast on this, understanding, then angels start coming one after another. They descend on them, and then say, "Nahnu awliyaukum hayatu dunya." We are your friends in this world. You are not alone. But when our world has made us deprived of all these beliefs, so problem is that we have lost faith, we have lost connection with that angelic world, we have lost connection with that divine world, we have lost connection with the faith and its, I should say, different type of fruits which could make us to fight and to be determined and to be strong and to be connected and to think that you are not alone in this universe, but there are forces of Allah, there are angels, there are other good people in the world who can support you, who can help you. So to just cut it short, because of the paucity of time, otherwise there's such a topic on which I can speak, and I don't know how much time I have and when I have to end and when I have to just when there may be some questions also. But no, if there is some more time, so I can just explain something more. If time is already over, then I can just sum it up. I want to know, Mr. Nazar.
Hello, sir.
There is some more time. I can 5
Yes,
minutes
sir.
more.
We can also, you may conclude. We can then have an separate interaction
that's
session.
good. That's good. So now I'll conclude, because whatever I wanted to say is that since this pandemic, it has created a lot of problems, and my friends have already explained the problems which are being faced by modern man in the wake of this pandemic. not only in the non-Muslim countries, but in the Muslim countries, not only in other parts of the world, but in Kashmir, which is known as Pirwar and this, the veil of the sands of Allah. Everywhere these problems are being faced by people. Then I just try to tell you that basically the reason for that is we have lost the faith because of the materialism and the materialistic philosophies. We are just learning, and we are being taught on the name of education. And I know the background of these all, educational efforts we are making, and the materialistic mentality and this mundane mentality, where there's no scope for spirituality, there is no scope for belief in God, belief in life after, belief in destiny, belief in goodness and badness of one's fortune. And for that reason, we have lost that connection with that spiritual world and spiritual solace, which used to come to the people when they were in distress. And then I have mentioned about some prophets like Job, Ayub, and then Awliya, and then prophets of the Allah, and then other pious people. And then I said that no, there is possibility of getting cured of this ailment, that is perversion, and that is this depression, and that this societal tendencies. That's only possible when we are connected again to our religion, to our roots, to God, to the spiritual life, and to life after, and to our destiny. And then I said that uh, in modern times, the people who are following religion, they don't face these problems in most cases, and they feel always happy whatever comes to their way. If they say "Kullu min indillah," everything is from Allah, good or bad, and they don't consider this world as the final destiny of human beings. They consider this world as a stopover, wherefrom we have to go to underworld, because they believe, as has been said by, I'm ending on this, as has been said by Prophet to Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka garib aw abir sabil." Be in this world as you are a stranger or a person who has to cross their way. So they believe that this world is not the ultimate destiny of men. We have to go to underworld, and the misfortunes and the trials and tribulations are for our goodness, because God wants to trust us. And if we are good people, by trials and tribulations, our stations are elevated. But if we have committed something wrong, we are being chastised by these misfortunes so that we mend our ways. So in this way, in both cases, these chastisements are for our goodness and for the glory of God. With these words, I again thank the authorities of college and the principal Saab and Nazar Saab that they have just arranged. It's a very, very interesting subject. And these topics should be made more common. And we need to have more and more programs on such topics, because our youngsters are facing these problems. We need to educate them, we need to console them, and we need to counsel them as well, so that they are not getting away by the timely frustrations, and then they go for suicide. As Nazar Sahab has mentioned about someone, he should have been consulted by his teachers, they should have consoled him, and they should have prevented him from such type of ideas even. So I am very, very thankful to you that you have chosen a very important topic, and I congratulate your college and your staff that you are just doing a commendable work by organizing such type of seminars. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Thank you very much, sir. Alhamdulillah. And thank you for this wonderful speech. And it's true that we need to realize that this world is not a perfect world. There is imperfection, and the perfection will come by joining the two hereafter and this life together. And thank you very much. We will have a separate interaction session with this, so that the things may open up more. So far as the mental is concerned, I like to reiterate that this has been the part of Ministry of Higher Education and MHRD. So we also welcome some of the participants like Dr. Naseem Guldar Sahab has joined us. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Dr. Mehrajdeen has also joined us. I'm very happy to see my colleagues joining us. And also Dr. Naveed Anjum, one of my colleagues and at Department of Shah Hamdan Institute of Islamic Studies, has also joined us. So we are all here from the Department of Islamic Studies and Religious Studies, but I don't want to take much time in between you and the experts. So directly coming to Dr. Nazir Ahmed Zargar Sahab, who has been a wonderful teacher, a wonderful muballigh at the same time. Plus he has also taught at Shah Hamdan Institute of Islamic Studies for many years. But unfortunately, I have never been his direct student, but I have been an indirect student of his. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us, and I will directly come to you, sir. Please, sir. And also request to the host to kindly unmute his audio. Zargar sir. Kindly unmute your, you can, sir, unmute your audio, kindly. Dr. Nazar Ahmed Zargar
Hello.
sir. Yes,
Hello.
sir. Yes, sir.
Am
Yeah,
I
yes, sir.
audible?
Yes, sir. Please
أعوذ
continue, sir.
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام وسيء الأسقام ما شاء الله كان وما لم يشاء لم يكن ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. While being in this webinar, let me honestly express my feelings before I go to talk about the subject. I feel honored, and at the same time, this is a kind of a little bit embarrassment for me at this platform where there are reputed academicians. I should say internationally acclaimed academicians like our teacher, Professor Maraji Saab, and also my teacher, Professor Manzoor Saab. And I don't think honestly that I am going to add anything new to what our respected teacher, Professor Maraji Saab, has already said. But one thing which is very interesting here is that at least academically, we have 3 generations of Kashmir Islamic studies assembled here on this platform. While I should say Professor Maraji Saab is gracing us here as the grandparent in the Department of Islamic Studies in the subject. Professor Manzoor Saab is no less than a parent, and myself obviously a grandson of the Department of Islamic Studies. However, I have the privilege to enjoy as Najibut Tarafain. Professor Maraji Saab is my teacher, Professor Manzoor Saab is my teacher, and I'm highly thankful to the organizers, especially the principal of the college and the other colleagues and the people from Islamic studies. And with the same logic, I should call them as my younger brothers. And I thank them again for inviting me here. Well, since the time when this pandemic hit the world, first to China and then it spread to other parts of the world, this SARS-CoV-2, which is colloquially called as COVID-19. So this pandemic has posed potential mental health challenges. And the whole human population has been particularly affected by the virus. Since this dreadful virus spread, it prompted the governments to adopt extraordinary measures, including restricting people to their homes and closing the majority of business. And most important of them is maintaining social distance, which then resulted in an extended social isolation. The after results of this precautionary measures, which had been taken, these measures, which were taken solely for the safety of life, these after effects, and then the resultant lockdown and social isolation, it had more dangerous side effects also. As such, we see right now the entire world is caught into a frustrating situation. So much so that there are now tremendous challenges to mental health, such as rising levels of symptoms of panic disorder, anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress, or I should call it as post-traumatic disorder, which is also called as, and so many other some very tragic incidents took place to which their Nazar Ul Islam pointed at the very outset. And so for many studies which have been conducted to understand the reasons for higher or lower stress levels in different persons and situations, these studies reveal that positive religious coping, intrinsic religiosity, and trust in God strongly correlated with less stress and more positive impact. While negative religious coping and mistrust in God, which we should say in Islamic parlance, iman bil qadr and then tadbir, they correlate with the inverse, that is more stress. In fact, religion in general and Islam in particular, as the only Tawheedic faith in its true sense, where the center of your experience, the religious experience, is the belief in one all-powerful Allah, God. I should say the concept of God is an obsession with a Muslim. So in such situations, Islam has a great relevance. How? It basically educates us about why there is suffering in the world and what role suffering can play in one's life. Before I just try to, in my own humble way, I try to say something about that, what role suffering can play vis-a-vis the concept of Tawheed. I here remember these proverbs, Arabic proverbs, which we often utter in such situations. One is al-wiqayatu khayrun min al-ilaj. Prevention is better than cure. So Nabi Akram sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when we go through his sunnah in such situations, he teaches us prevention. He teaches us al-wiqaya. This is how religion can safeguard your health. It can safeguard your physical as well as mental well-being in such situation. And one more proverb is this is al-hayatu al-ihtiyatu nisful hayat. Carefulness is half of life. So on one hand, you rest in God, you have full trust in God. And on the other hand, you need religion, you require religion to teach you how to safeguard your health, mental as well as physical. Both the things are given by Islam. Prevention as well as the trust. So shockingly enough, we see that now man is being driven to such a situation where step by step, he turns from himself to people obstacle, to God, then to desperation, and then finally to God and God alone. A common man's exclamation can tell you how grave the situation was when the pandemic hit. I talked to a person, an old person, and he had an unwavering, unflinching faith in Allah Ta'ala. And maybe he was not having the feeling of such a dreadful terror of the virus, but his words were, because of that, if you were truthful in your faith in him, you need not worry. Turn to him and him alone. None can do anything. No, not even those to whom we turn in disease. We should turn to Allah. These are the words of a layman, of a commoner, but who had full faith in Allah Ta'ala. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, a great master, a spiritual master, he says in one of his Futuhul Gab, he says, most probably if I remember well, when a man is subjected to a tribulation, he first turns to his own self to find out the solution. He can just try his own level, and he tries to find out the solution by applying his own capacity. But when he fails, he seeks help from the people like rulers, men of high position, lords of the world, and physicians. In case of illness, he turns to the physician. But when they too fail to help him, what happened in this pandemic. He invokes his God. He cries, he weeps and supplicates. So as long as he relies on himself, he does not turn to people. And unless he gets disappointed from people, he doesn't turn to God. So his first attempt is trying himself. When he gets disappointed from his capacities, he turns to people of skill, to doctors, to physicians. So, but when he gets disappointed from the people, he turns to God. So unless he gets disappointed from the people, he doesn't turn to God. But when God does not help him at the first instance, he confines himself to prayer, offering praises to God, oscillating between fear and hope, then God disappoints him. This is what the Shaykh Rahmatullah says. Then God disappoints him and does not listen to his prayers. And he just then he again cries till he gets disappointed from everyone. So he leaves every effort and is reduced to just the soul. Here he sees none but God alone as the real doer of all actions and becomes a true mubahid. He doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't believe in any person in the world. Now he ultimately believes in God. He leaves everything now to God. If you see, you think just a person who is drowning in deep waters, he tries his level to just catch hold of something which is on the bank, but he fails there. It gets uprooted. And then he calls people, even they cannot help him. And then he calls Allah Ta'ala. When he does not seem to help him at that juncture, and now he thinks that he is now going to drown, then he leaves everything, and then rests unto God and says that whatever is now God going to do, I will just help, accept it. Then he becomes a true muwahid. And that's what happened to many of us in this pandemic. Alhamdulillah, the pandemic turned so many people into true muwahids after getting disappointed from everyone and then leaving everything to Allah. Well, faith is supposed to be the most viable source of comfort and peace of mind in times of suffering and desperation. People believing in God, Allah Ta'ala, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, firmly believe that every good or bad condition that befalls man is by his degree, by his taqdeer, who by bringing calamities does not want people to suffer. This is why there are sufferings in this world. He does not want us to suffer, but to mend, that we should mend our ways, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَضَرَّعُونَ, and repent and desist from becoming cause for others' suffering. Whatever suffering befalls you is due to your own deeds. فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ. That's what our respected teacher in the beginning pointed to, this Quranic ayah. But one more addition to this ayah is which Allah Ta'ala says further, فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. Most of the wrongdoings Allah Ta'ala forgives himself without asking for forgiveness. He goes on forgiving those things. He goes on forgiving those things. And for certain things, he just puts you to some tribulation, some suffering, so that you may repent and you may return back. Remember, this is how religion and religious teachings console us. Everything has been written before the earth and the heavens were created. You cannot change the divine decree. You cannot even challenge it. The destiny has already been set. But yes, your efforts are also a part of your destiny. So don't lose heart. Wade in the troubled waters. The shore is not far. Think positive. It's not going to remain for long. Verily, after the hardship, there is ease. Inna ma'al usri yusra. What does it mean? This is not going to last for long. This pandemic will not be here in the future, but it will just enable you to generate such powers within you, so that whatever befalls you, whatever comes to you. See, if there is no pandemic, death is still there. Fear of death is still there. What if you are healthy all along your life? Aren't you going to die? So then you are going to die. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. I'll tell you my experiences that I became a patient of chronic duodenal ulcer due to fear of death. For more than 2 years, I remained engrossed in the fear of death. But then the spiritual teachers and mentors, they trained us how to overcome the terror of death, which is always there. Even if there is no disease, even if there is no pandemic, even there is no obvious threat to your life, still you have to go. But you can just overcome that. And when I just read lives of the spiritual teachers and so many people who overcame this fear, and they were very blissful in their life, and when they died a peaceful death, very happily. I was thinking about Imam Ghazali, who died, Mata Ghazali, wa ala sadrihi al-Bukhari, while Bukhari Sharif was on his chest, on his heart, he died, and he had a very peaceful and very pleasing that situation, that dying situation. So why was that? Because at the initial level, he had thought that since I have to go, let me rest everything to Allah Ta'ala. Let me keep my trust in Allah. And since I have to meet him, let me have close friendship and close the coordination with what Allah Ta'ala has already commanded me. So we should not lose heart. We should wait in these troubled waters, because Allah Ta'ala says, Inna ma'al usri yusra. So hardship comes by the will of God. Whoever endures and hello, am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes, sir.
Whoever endures and shows patience gets reward, and whosoever loses heart and becomes impatient loses the game and suffers. So sabr is the real ilaj. Sabr. And then shukr. Whenever you see a person suffering from a disease and you are healthy, pay shukr to Allah Ta'ala. Mimman faddalani ala kathirin min al-alamin. Because Allah Ta'ala has saved you from among so many people who are now caught in disease. When in late March, the pandemic hit, some of my friends had to undergo quarantine. And those days, in the beginning days, when you heard somebody was going through this disease and somebody had got positive, he was infected. So then you were thinking that now he's gone now. Such was the terror, such was the dread of the disease in the early days. But then I went on counseling him and consoling him and telling him so many instances from Hadith, from the Quran. Then Alhamdulillah, he spent the time, 14 days he spent in, one of my friends, he was from a medical sector. He spent 14 days under that quarantine, I should say lockup. He spent 14 days there. He remained healthy there. He got a rag, a prayer mat, and then he would, at all the times he would perform wuzu and then read Quran Sharif and then read Durood Azkar. Now, after coming out, he tells me that those days, those quarantine days were the most beautiful days of his life, because he was feeling that he was very close to Allah Ta'ala. So that was the role which that quarantine period played in his life. Sufyan al-Thawri, rahmatullah alayhi, a great muhaddis of his time, went for Hajj. On reaching the Muzdalifah, he made a clay cushion for himself. A cushion from mud. People asked him, why did you make such cushion while you are a great muhaddis? You can go and you can buy a good question for you. He replied, this question is better than that of Jafar Mansur, the Abbasid ruler of that time. This is better than that. So we must learn to derive good from what seems misfortune and comfort from inconvenience. So we must learn to just explore out our own within those capacities. That's optimism, which strengthens us amidst hardships, unlike pessimism, which drowns us even when the shore is not too far. And that's the real objective of belief in taqdeer and belief in Allah. Religion actually generates hope while disappointment comes from helplessness. But when you have an all-powerful Allah Ta'ala who you invoke in times of distress and helplessness, it gives you psychological solace and peace of mind. After all, there is some anchor with which you tie your boat amid the dreadful storm. So therefore, disappointment, frustration, and cowardice, they are not the traits of true believers. So we should not listen to rumors. See, when we always listen to the news on the radio, and then the rumors which people spread, that we see that the whole world is now getting full of death, and dead bodies are here and there. So we everywhere see death and the spectacle of death, and we see as if the angel of death has now gone beyond the limits and he can catch you anywhere and anytime. So this frightens you. Don't share rumors. They frighten those who could otherwise console you. Even those people who could console you, they get frightened. It will be a good chance for you to improve, prepare, enrich your knowledge, and strengthen your latent powers. Religion also teaches you what kind of precautions you should take during the pandemic situation, as I said earlier. But the best it offers is that it creates internal immunity, not only to fight the physical effects of the disease, but also to enable you withstand the mental challenges. It says that death is inevitable. Its time is already fixed. Everyone shall taste it, but none will die before the predestined time. Remember, if you are not to die, death itself will protect you, because the time is.
So death keeps a calendar. It comes to protect you from untimely death. And if your time has come, nobody on earth will save you. So never worry about death. But at the same time, never be a cause for your own death. Always follow the wisdom. Carefulness is half of life, and prevention is better than cure. At home, be in the company of books. Do spare some time for meditation, muraqabah, and zikr. Be in isolation and concentrate on your ultimate relations with your Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Avoid social media for most of the time. This is the real cause for our stress, social media. Be patient and behave well with other family members. At least you have got a good opportunity to have your close relations with your siblings, with your offsprings, with your parents, and with the books, at least with the books, because now is the time that we have now forgotten books. And now the times are gradually changing, and we are having, inshallah, we will be having a better world to live in, because we will be having with us a great experience while we came out of the misfortune and came out from this dreadful disease. And Allah Ta'ala gave us a chance to introspect and think over our own past deeds and actions. And inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will give us further chance to mend our ways. With these words, I once again thank you, and once again thank my teachers who have just for some time they tolerated me here with these words of mine. With this, thank you very much.
Jazakallah. Thank you, sir, so much for your speech, for these insightful words, and the advice you gave to us that death keeps no calendar, and death will come anyway to anybody. There's no there's no reason to fear the death. It has to come at any time. But only thing what we need to do is to play our part in this world and move on. said rightly that death at times, the calendar of the death at times protect you from the death, because at times we do so many stupid things, but it's the calendar of that protects us that time. So belief is, as I said, that belief as an important trait in religions can not only boost our immunity intrinsically, as you said rightly, but it can also strengthen our emotional well-being and mental health as well. Thank you so much for your insightful lecture, sir. The house is open for the Dr. Umar Zargar, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, to read any question or unmute the audios and videos of the students who want to ask the questions to our two experts today. Dr. Manzoor Ahmad Bhatt Saab is not going to deliver a speech because of his busy schedule somewhere. We are very unfortunate to not to listen to his spiritual aspects of the mental well-being, but still we will continue with it. He is going to connect us in
Thank you. It was great pleasure for us to hear from Professor Marazi, Professor Central University of Kashmir, and Professor Nazar Ahmed Zargar, Central University of Kashmir, who gave their input regarding how religion and especially Islam can play an important role for stress management. And Professor Marazi Sahab rightly said that religion can be a great source for coping such crises. And he gave Islamic viewpoint and he gave references from Holy Quran. And then we had another speaker, Professor Nazir Ahmed Zargar, assistant professor at Central University of Kashmir. He mentioned some of the scientific aspects also. And I was reading some of the recent research which has been carried out, how religion, how intrinsic religiosity can help to cope up with adversities. And this was published recently in American Psychology Association, I think in the month of May, where they have pointed out that if a person or community is inclined to religion, there can be a sense of hope, connectedness with God, can also help humans to cope up with the disasters like COVID-19. So Professor Nazir Ahmed also mentioned how prevention and trust can be achieved by having more trust to God. And now this session is open for questions. So I have unmuted all. Now anyone who can raise his hand or have question, he can just speak up. Anyone who has question? We are now
yes,
live.
we have a WhatsApp question and on chat box to both of the experts we have. It is Asifa Bashir, a student from Amir Road, Srinagar, Government College for Women. She has a question that how Islam sees depressed patients and what duties are on psychologists and psychiatrists, and as a religious scholar, what she has to treat as a depressed patient. And taking or are they taken as haram or not? How Islam can change people's mindset who stigmatize depressed patients as well. And what we as a person can do to help depressed patients. Yes, Marazi sir, please. Kindly unmute the Professor Hamid Nasim.
I am doing. So it is unmute now. There was a problem.
Did you hear my question?
I did not listen because there was a problem.
Okay,
blurring.
sir. She is Asifa Bashir from Women's College Untitled. She wants to know that how Islam sees depressed patients.
Yeah.
And what duties are on psychologists and religious scholars to treat a depressed patient.
Yeah, basically, unless you are depressed, you never return to God, as Nazir Sahib has rightly said. And there is a very interesting verse in Quran. Every verse is interesting, provided we know it. Otherwise, no, that is solace for everything. So, Wama yujibul mustar izada. And there can't be better term than a mustar for a depressed person. Everyone in this world has to become depressed sometimes. Even sometimes when prophets, they feel in such circumstances, Mata Nasrullah. And the friends of Allah prophets and their companions, they say Mata Nasrullah. Because Zulzulu, they are being put to such trials and tribulations, they cry, Mata Nasrullah, when the help of Allah will, assistance of Allah will come. And as I told you that the best people in the world have undergone these trials and tribulations. Maybe Newton, and maybe Einstein, Iqbal, Ghazali, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Rushd, Ibn Khaldun, and Descartes, René Descartes, and Spinoza. And these all great people, whether in philosophy or religion, in Sufism, as I told you, Sufis love and they enjoy their trials and tribulations in the way of Allah. Because they said, this is Balai Dost. This is the trial from my Lord. He has sent someone to me, Nawazil. And Hadith, these all trials and tribulations have been called as Nawazil and Nawaibul Haq. These come instead of God. They remind you about God and show you the power of Allah, that see he's in control. So there is solution for depressed people. So the problem with this modern world is, I am a student of philosophy of the world's, Western philosophy and Islamic philosophy. The problem with our modern world is that we think that only comfort is the comfort of the world. La aisha illa la aisha al-akhirah. No, they think la aisha illa al-aisha dunya. The only pleasure is the pleasure of this world. So they become depressed when they, are afflicted by any such type of, misfortune. It may be disease, it may be death, it may be some earthquake, it may be some other such type of, catastrophe, or it may be some trials and tribulations from God, and some flood, sometimes it may be famine. And the best solution to depression in Islam is prayer, salah. It is
Kindly unmute your audio, sir.
Uh,
That's a Maharaj sir,
Yeah.
Maharaj sir, please unmute your audio first.
okay, I will just.
Unmute Dr. audio.
Offline, I think so.
No, he's online.
No, he's online. Sir, kindly.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Sir, kindly unmute your audio.
But I have already.
Okay. Sir, kindly unmute your audio. Maharaj sir, kindly.
okay, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now
we can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, basically there is some problem because in this 2G regime, these problems will happen again and again.
This is very normal.
Yeah, no problem. We have been living with this and muteness all the time.
These internet glitches are very normal.
You're right. Now, basically, the best solution to this depression is prayer. There's an interesting hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Is a hasbahu shayyin salah aw kama qal. Whenever there was some problem with Prophet ﷺ, he was feeling some problem or some grief, he would go for prayer. You go for prayer and you will forget everything. It is experience. The problem is that we don't believe in the power of prayer. Our prayer is, I am sorry to say, because I am also the product of modern philosophies. I am also product of modern education. But Alhamdulillah, we had relation with Quran and with the Salihin, Alhamdulillah. They have told us the meaning of prayer, Alhamdulillah. And when our Prophet ﷺ was facing any problem, he would go for prayer. Even there was blowing up the wind, a minor wind was blowing, he would go for prayer. Maybe this is the scourge of Allah. And basically to believe that Allah is testing us and we should go back to Allah. You need to go to Allah. A depressed person will not be helped by anyone else than Allah. You believe this. When you believe this, then you will find that your all problems have gone. You have to make Allah hasbunallahu ni'mal waqi, ni'mal mawla, ni'mal nasi. That Allah is the best helper and He's the best advocate whom you can surrender yourself. Give your case to Allah, He will take care of you. But as Nazir Sahib has rightly said, sometimes you believe in yourself. Sometimes you believe in other people, doctor and this and that. But doctors don't help themselves. You can see that many doctors, they have become also the victims of this COVID. Despite and more than 400 doctors in India only, they have died because of COVID. They could not save themselves. How they can save you? But if you are believing it, but you have to try. You have to take all the precautions. But when you are depressed, you go back to Allah, and there is no way out than Allah. You take the story of Jonah. You take the story of Ayub, Job. You take the story of Prophet ﷺ when he was in the cave and God Hira. And what he says that La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana. Allah is with us. Such a distressful situation was there. But because of the lack of faith, so we are just believing more in this secretary and this, although we have to go for that, no doubt. But if you will see from religious point of Islamic point of view, there is the best solution to your problems in prayer, and especially tahajjud, the night vigil, night prayers. And whenever anyone comes to me with some problem, I tell him, especially my friends, my teacher students, I tell him, you go for the prayer during night and put your case before Allah and see how He takes care of your problem. But we are not trying these things. So we try, and inshallah, I am hopeful. But then you can also go for medication. And there are some problems because I have been involved in these things. My friend, my students, they are just, they are removing the jinni and the ghosts, some of my friends, my students. And I went there, I saw them, and I had some meetings with them. And I found that even we can take help of those people also, because there are many such type of, people are just there, they are very busy, and there is this world of the jinnat. It is not Sir Said, there's no microbes. No, I don't believe in Sir Said because he does not know philosophy. There is a problem. Although he was a good man, I love him. When I go to his, grave, I weep there. I just pray for his, forgiveness. But I know that he was not well versed in Islam in this way. So he has said that these jinnat, these are the microbes, and these natural forces are, these angels are the natural force. No, there are jinnat, there are angels. Angels can become our friends, or jinnat can become friends, and Satan can become friends. And when Satan becomes nuqaiz lahu shaitan fahuwa lahu qareeb. And whenever a person forgets Allah, Allah puts a Satan on him, and he becomes your friend and my friend, whosoever is making them their friends. And then they create problems for you. And there is some problem of this way also, in this angelic world or world of the ghosts. They also create these depressions. And then you can go for that treatment as well, spiritual treatment. But basic thing is, if you rely on Allah, you go for Quran, you go for Hadith, you go for prayers, most of your problems will be inshallah solved. So then we can have some more details discussion some other time. This is this little bit reply.
Oh, so we have another question for Professor Nazir Sahab. So a question has been asked by Farzana Akhtar, mechanical engineering student. He is basically asking this common question, why suicide have increased during COVID-19? Basically, she is asking how to avoid suicide using religious or Islam. So what are the teachings of Islam about it, and how to avoid this? Because this is a common phenomenon in students, especially who are, Hello, are you hearing me, sir?
Yeah, please unmute. Zargar sahab may be unmuted. Kindly unmute Dr. Nazir Zargar sahab. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Islam can offer two solutions for this problem of suicide. One is in the teachings of Islam.
Is he audible?
And one is the psychology which Islam creates within you. About psychology and trust in God, we just had some discussion about this just a short while ago. I said many things about that, how you should have trust in Allah Ta'ala, and how you should remain steadfast and as a true believer, having your full confidence with Allah Ta'ala, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and don't lose your heart. These are about the teachings of Islam. But one thing is special, that is, if you commit suicide, Islam says that you have to enter hellfire. This is one more aspect of human psyche which Islam addresses, that if you don't have some sort of that allurement which just satiates your inner thirst and hunger. And at the same time, you should have some warnings also, because human nature is such that you have both the capacities inside. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. For taqwa, you should have a reward. And for fujur, you should have a warning. You should have that you will face some problems if you just go in accordance with your fujur. So both these things have been taken into consideration in Islam. So on one hand, let me be very brief. On one hand, it tells you that you should trust in Allah and shows you that you should have full faith in. Having full faith in Allah Ta'ala means having full faith in His decision, in His command, in His decree. That is Iman bil Qadr. And Muslims have been asked to, the whole of Islam revolves around Iman bil Qadr, Rida bil Qadar. This is one thing. And then when Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam taught us how to make iyadat of the diseased people, of the sick people, and how to express your love and sympathy and compassion with those people. If we do that properly and we perform our responsibilities and deeds timely towards these people who are suffering from distress, and so who are suffering from citrus and those kind of psychological disorders, the situation for their suicide will not come. I think, number one, the citrus level when it increases within a person because of the suffering he goes through, it can be reduced, number one, from his internal faculties, psychological well-being with Allah Ta'ala, and number two, by the sense of responsibility of the neighbors, of the relatives who have been taught by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then also by the book of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, to console your companion, to advise your suffering brother or sister. So if we, on both the fronts, one, the person who is suffering, he should be introduced to the teachings of Islam, and number two, those people who are around him, his relatives, friends and neighbors, they should fulfill their responsibilities, their religious obligations towards those people who are suffering. Inshallah, suicides will not take place.
Just one, can I add something more?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, basically, to why people commit suicide, there is one reason also. They think that we are masters of our life. Whatever we want to do with life, we can do. And this is the lack of the belief. And second point is, they are this worldly people. They don't believe in life after. A person who believes in life after, he knows if he or she commits suicide, she will suffer more there. She wants to get rid of suffering, but she is going to face a worse suffering than this. Because of the lack of belief in life hereafter, she or he is committing suicide. If their faith in life hereafter is strengthened in our youngsters, then they will never go for such a heinous crime. Because this is such a crime, Prophet has said, a person who is killing himself with anything, and he will be killing himself again and again like that. If a person is thrown, for example, from a mountain down, and he'll be doing this practice again and again.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
We have another question. This question is for our two experts here. This question is from Akib Unjum Afi, student Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. He wants us again a general question: how students can cope up with different types of stresses that is developed due to academic. So he's asking basically academic stress. So please highlight some of your thoughts on this aspect.
Dr. Nazir Ahmed Zargar Sahab, would you please
Yes.
answer to this question?
Most of the stressful situations can be coped with a judicious use of time. When you are getting overburdened by the academic engagements and the books and all those necessary engagements which you need to fulfill during your academic journey, sometimes what you do, you open a book, and while you are reading the book, you are thinking about another subject, what will happen to that. So you are neither here nor there. So this mixes up so many things in your brain. And then what happens to brain? This is just like a national highway. The buses come and they stop, and there becomes a jam, and all the buses play their horns, and then there is this overloading and jumbling and congestion within your mind. This creates stress. So what should be there? The first bus should now move ahead, and all the buses should then follow. You should not stop somewhere. When so many things get over jumbled in your mind, this creates an academic kind of stress. So judicious use of time, do right things at right time, and assign a particular time those responsibilities for tomorrow. Whatever you have to do today, you should do it today, complete it today, and then leave the rest to Allah Ta'ala Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Then everything will follow with a sequence, with an order, and I think there will be no. And then one more thing is that you should not then preoccupy your mind with certain unnecessary preoccupations. During academic journey, during your research, during your studentship, when you fill up your mind with so many other things which are not directly related with your academics, then you get confused. Then you have so many problems and you can't solve any problem. So these so many things cropping up into your mind at a time, they become a detonator, then an atomic bomb, and which then explodes, and you can't do anything at your time.
Okay. We have another question from Mehvish Niaz. I think our esteemed speakers, guests have already answered this. What are the main causes of stress? If Professor Zargar Sahab or Professor Hamid Sahab will again answer his question.
I prefer this question should go to our teacher, Professor Marazi Sahab, to add
I think Professor Marazi Sahab is not with us right now.
Okay.
He is, but due to technical issues, he has left the webinar, or maybe he may be adding, or he's added again.
Okay.
Professor Marazi Sahab, kindly unmute your.
Yeah, basically there is some problem. And first of all, I was looking towards my students, Anjum Sahab and Omar Sahab, a very good friend of mine. Mashallah, he used to come to me when I was in Central University there.
Thank you, sir.
I remember.
This is basically encouragement from you, because
he would off and on come to me, and we used to discuss very important problems about science and religion. And
Sir, the question is from Mehvish.
I understand. Just I wanted to treat
yes, sir.
friends. So she's basically problem is with our students that let me tell them. I will tell them because we had been also students. We became teachers when we were students, and if they want to become something, they have to be students. This life of student is the best period of a person in life, but we don't enjoy it. We used to enjoy studies. We were in libraries up to the 2 p.m. every day in Eligad. In JNU also, we used to go at 8 a.m. and come back from there at evening, late evening. And when I was in Hamdar University, I used to be in the library whole time. And I enjoyed my studies. And when you start enjoying studies, then you are the real student. Basically, there is the peer pressures. Our parents want us to be something which we don't want to become. And we don't have any choice. Basically, our parents have become materialists, let me tell you. They want their wards to become doctors, engineers, or some professionals. But the interests and the propensities of the students are not being taken care of. And then there is depression, and there is communication gap. And when there is communication gap, and then there is no imposition, and then you never become natural. your approach is never natural. Then you become frustrated. And frustration is the starting point of depression and mental agony and the mental problems. Basically, in our societies where nothing is, in our hand, so everything is being imposed on us by parents, by society, by this and that, and we have no choice to make our own, decisions. And in such circumstances, the frustration and depression and mental agonies will definitely take place.
Are we facing again an internet?
We are facing again.
Thank you. I think the question is a little answered.
Okay, so we have, we will just wait for a while.
Okay.
Okay, he is again, sir is again online, okay? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I will try to.
Till then, we can have another question.
Okay, we have another question from John Muhammad Wani. So he wants to know what should be done in order to stop the spread of drug addiction in J&K. You know, this is a major menace in our societies, drug addiction. So Professor Nazar Ahmed Mir will answer this question.
Basically,
okay.
This is a drug addiction is because I am a little bit, I am the only teacher who is doing some social work also, because usually we become journalists when we are retired, and we become social workers when we are retired, and we do everything after retirement, not during the working period. I used to be involved in little bit some social work with Shema Foundation, Islamic Relief Trust, and we made several programs on drug addiction, and we invited some psychiatrists and scholars and doctors, and then social society, social workers as well. We find that this has become now a business. When something becomes business, unless the people who are at the helm of papers try to control this, no one can control it. When I was told by psychiatrists that it is difficult to get a chocolate than to get any drug. It is so easily available everywhere, and it can be supplied anywhere, and it is very it is available everywhere. So you can understand that when things are being made available to the students and to the girls and boys, and especially outside the education institutions, there are people, there are networks who are working for these things. And you should read the history that opium wars about China, history, maybe knowing better it. So my point is that if you want that society will help you, no. If you want that business community, no, you have to help yourself. Teachers may help, universities may help, colleges may help, and then the parents have to help, and the religious scholars and preachers have to help. But let me tell you, our preachers and our religious scholars, they are talking about everything which is above heavens, although we have to talk about that. Without that, there's no way. And they talk everything about below heavens, below earth. That's also we have to tell. But they never say what are the implications of things happening on earth for the life hereafter. No one touches these topics in the masjids, in the seminars, in the conferences. And the problem is that this is becoming a very great problem for our society. And I have seen their homes are being vitiated and destroyed because of this, drug addiction. And our children, they become later on, then they commit suicide also. And this is so much available in our society, easily available. So all of us have to join, especially the education institutions, parents and religious scholars. It is our obligation, religious obligation. In Saudi Arabia, in Muslim countries, if a person is caught with drugs, he is being hanged. But here we are they are getting scot-free. So in this way, we need to sensitize our society, our youngsters, colleges and schools and universities. They have to play a very important role. We are spectators. We have no role in society at all. Our intellectuals, our scholars, our social workers, they are just waiting. They will be commanded and then they will work. No, on our own, we have to start a campaign against these things. And in our Islamic studies department should be started everywhere in the university, colleges, and higher secondaries. And this will be also a great way to people, divert people from these negative tendencies because of the immoral, things which are happening everywhere.
Okay, are we again disconnected? Should I read a
Okay.
question? No,
Dr.
sir. Should I read a question?
Dr. Nazir Sahab will, if any comment on this.
Okay, yes, sir.
Nazir Sahab.
Sir, I would like to add a question to it so that Dr. Nazir Ahmed Zargar Sahab can also add the answer to it,
Okay.
rather than argument to it. Dr. Nazir Zargar Sahab, do you hear me?
Welcome. Yes, yes, I'm there.
Yes, thank you, sir. So the question is that recently the Department of Education has taken some initiatives in coping stress among the students. And we witnessed that Department of Psychology is playing a very important role, like opening up of what's that called as clinical clubs and clinical committees. And so many students from psychology are participating in it by interacting with the students. Not only that, but by practically and scientifically doing some testing and participating in that. I raised a question there that religion also has a role to play in this. But the question again was raised by, at the same time, by the Commissioner Secretary that we have not witnessed it right now, what the students of religious studies are practically doing. Have they initiated certain clubs in counseling the students? Or do you have concentrated on mosques? Have you come out of the mosques while counseling the students? So this is the question. In addition to that, is the same question that that was asked by the student to Maraji sir, that how can we do this counseling, this sort of counseling? Would you please augment to it and substantiate this? Can we justify religious studies students and religious institutions in playing a part in Kashmir in counseling the students practically, the way the other like psychologists students are doing it? Zargar Sahab is there?
I am here, but you are taking time to unmute the speakers.
Okay, we have these internet issues. This is the new normal to Kashmir, these internet issues.
So let me tell you one thing first. When there were floods some years back, and what did we do during the floods? We made boats and we waded into the waters and we tried to fetch medicine, fetch those daily eatables and something else to the persons who were caught amidst the waters. What was the final solution? Was this the solution, or this was just to cope with that situation, that trying situation? The solution was that when the waters went down, the land appeared, and everybody found then the life again, and everybody was walking on the land. That was the permanent solution, isn't it? So you see, hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, sir. You are audible. Okay.
We must remember that we are living a conflict-ridden situation. Our part of world is full of conflict, full of crisis. Unless and until we get out of this conflict and crisis, there will be stress, there will be chaos, there will be confusion, because you are living within the waters. You are living within the balloon. You are not outside the balloon, thinking about the balloon. You are not living on the bank of a river. You are just wading inside the river. You are just now sunk deep into the waters. So what could be done? So there is no permanent solution for this stress. It will just get on generating and generating and generating. I will quote one instance. A person went to a Mufti Sahab and said that, Mufti Sahab, we have a well, and in that well has dropped a dog. What should we do to the water of the well? He said that drag out all the water from the well, it will get purified. He went home and then dragged out all the water, got out all the water from the well. And then after some days, he went back to the Mufti Sahab and said that we feel a pungent smell from the well. What should we do now? He said, did you get the dead body of that dog out of that well? He said, no. He said, unless and until the dog is there, till the dog is there, the well will not get purified. So the dog is here. That's in our minds. That is in our societies. That is in our outskirts. That's everywhere there. So conflict is there. So long as the conflict is there, crisis is there, citrus is there, but now we have to live with it. We have to manage it as we are now managing with the coronavirus. The virus is there, the threat is there, but we are now trying to cope with this. We are now trying to live with this. And newer ways are now coming on the fore how to cope with this situation. Similarly, yes, people who are related to religion, as respected professors have said just a short while ago, people who are related with religion, who are concerned with the department of religion or Islamic studies or religious studies, they are the foremost towards whom the society should see and look, and with whom we have expectations. They should come forward. As for myself, I have been counseling such patients unofficially at my own level from decades, alhamdulillah, because I have myself undergone so many stresses situations. So we should, whatever we can do at our own level, and now this is the time that we should join hands and have some collective efforts in order to help those situations. Lest there should be some time that we ourselves will be wading in the same waters. So Allah Ta'ala should not make us see that day. Allah Ta'ala should make helpers and not those people who are on the shoulders of other people. So this is our responsibility. We should join our hands and heads together, and we should find out ways how to come up to the situation and how to fulfill the expectations of the people which they have towards the people of religion.
So we have final question of the day. Question is raised by Zinat Yusuf. This is a question for both of you. Are we having any particular subject as Islamic psychology in Kashmir at college or university level? So she is basically asking about Islamic psychology. Is there any concept of Islamic psychology? So please answer this.
Professor Marazi Saab.
Marazi sir is not with us. I think it's your duty to answer.
We don't have a subject as such, well, systematic subject, organized subject as such, but I have a book. We have gone through that book. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Mahir Nafsiyat. You can just create a subject out of that book, and you can just make a course. And maybe in some future, our elder teachers are there. They may introduce. So because of the exigency of the times, they may introduce such course into the curriculum of Islamic studies or religious studies.
And this is, sir, also, in order to add that, this is Islamic psychology as a chapter is taught in Islamic social sciences in the final year of undergraduate courses. Yeah, there will be Islamic concept of nafs cycle.
Maybe.
Marazi sir is with us.
Marazi sir?
Yes, he is with us.
Can you please repeat the question?
Marazi sir with us? Please unmute.
Basically, this is a very good question, and so far as psychology is concerned, there are some books which have been written by some of our friends like Ansari Wahab and Abdul Wahab, and then Triple IIT. They have written some books on Islamic psychology, and I think that this has to become the part of our curriculum in future. And people are working on that, especially in the Institute of Objective Studies, New Delhi. They are preparing books on this subject, and this is a very important subject. We need to, introduce in our colleges, in our universities, in our schools, in higher secondaries also. This is very important, and I feel that we have every department of Islamic studies should include some portion of counseling. And I had written an article on Imam Ghazali and his counseling method. So there is my book on Ghazali. So he had talked about this counseling. And there are two types of subjective counseling and objective counseling. And then he says that, for example, the people who used to go to Peer or the Murshid, and they used to share with him all their problems, physical as well as spiritual. So this can be also one way of that. And we can introduce some such type of practice, especially in Sufism, that had been there always. So this can be now, and let me tell you, this has been taken by the West from us. we do know our past, and our scholars had talked about psychology long back. Even Ibn Khaldun has talked about that. Ibn Sirin has talked about that. Imam Ghazali has talked about that. So if we just combine those portions from their books, even the interpretation of dreams has been talked long back by Al-Kindi, Yaqub Al-Kindi, and he has even cured a person from paralysis by musical therapy. So they used to use these all such type of gadgets which were available those days. And in modern times, we need to also introduce some portion of psychology or counseling in Islamic studies, and that can go a long way to help the students. And Najir Sahib is right, and even though some people come to me also, I talk to them, and Najir Sahib is doing this work, mashallah. And I have also my student Tariq Bhatt Sahib. At least he's treating every Sunday, he's treating more than 50 people, and then he's helping them to come out from the distress and stresses and drama. So that can be a nice thing in this way.
I thank both the experts who delivered their thoughts on this important aspect. It is our honor and pleasure that you have been with us, and I thank all the participants. Now I hand over to Professor Khurshid Sahab, who will give his concluding remarks. Professor Khurshid.
Thank you very much. It was actually an enlightening session, this webinar, and we have tried our best to get together where we could discuss the religious perspective on these particular crises which we are going through. When we would study about philosophy of sciences, at that time we used to follow or study the readings of Thomas Kuhn, Karl Popper, Lakatos. And I remember one of the quotes from this Thomas Kuhn when he would talk about that science is just like religion, because what it may what we may believe today, it may not be we may not believe it tomorrow. So actually he's trying to tell us that we shouldn't put too much what we call it faith on this science. Sometimes it may not live up to our expectations, but that doesn't mean that science doesn't have a role in our day-to-day life. But religion, on the other hand, what we actually believe is that it is a faith which we live with, and that's what brings us positivity, optimism in our lives. So we have what actually we try to do, the religious perspective on it. We try to see that how religion explains that how we have to deal with the situation of this sort, and that is what actually has been explained, described very meticulously by our great renowned speakers. Particularly, we started with Professor Hamidullah Maraji, head department of Religious Studies, Central University of Kashmir. He explained the different facets of this thing, that how religion can be an important factor or tool to deal with such crisis. And then we have had honor to have Dr. Nazar Ahmed Mir with us, Assistant Professor, Department of Religious Studies, Central University of Kashmir, who also tried to tell us different dimensions of that, how religion can be an important factor in dealing with crisis of this sort of nature, which maybe you may not find from the people who are around you, the friends you have pinned hope upon, the doctors would be believe in. So religion plays a very important role in bringing stability in your day-to-day lives. I would also like to thank Professor Hamidullah Maraji sir, Dr. Nazar Ahmed Mir sir, and also thanks goes to Dr. Nazar Ul Islam, head department of Islamic Studies, GDC Boys, Anantnag. And I'm also highly thankful to Dr. Umar, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, Boys College, Anantnag. And it would not have been possible without the participation of some great, beautiful, and what we call it, learned scholars, people from different walks of life, students who participated in this webinar. I really thank you all on behalf of Principal GDC Boys Anantnag, and we are highly thankful you for making this program a lively, informative, and helpful. And we believe that this program would bring some optimism among those who are the participants of this program, and they would try to convey the same message to those who are taking some extreme sit-ups while facing challenges like COVID-19 because we have various challenges. They may come into our lives. We have to face them. We have to deal with them. And religion, particularly our own religion, which we talk about when we talk about Islam, it also tells us about means, methods, or methodology how to deal with such eventualities or crises that may come in our day-to-day lives. So I'm highly thankful to all. Thank you very much for making this webinar really informative and helpful. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.